We're looking at what are called the Three Brothers, each from a different century. 16th century, 17th century in the middle, and apparently the 18th century. Notice that this oldest building visually is canted to the right, almost like a sloppily drawn cartoon. And notice its irregularity. For example, notice each of those two tiers starting from the top roof are of different lengths. In fact, it seems like all of them are of different lengths. These buildings typify the small windows at the top, the large windows at the bottom. People lived in the bottom, or in the case of this 1646, probably on the first two floors, and on the most recent building, maybe even all of those floors, but it was the top floors that were for storage. And I asked the question, I don't see the large window or doorway that you'd expect. And he said no, but the tactic was the same. An arm with a pulley on it would come out, and that would allow you to pull goods up into the upper stories. If that's true, that suggests in this oldest building that they stored only small items that were handled in small quantities. Or there's another entrance. Why the tower construct on this building adjacent to this church? And notice that it's being held up by straps. This church dated to 1225, but whether that was an original church that this was replaced or not, you don't know. Gothic, but very simple. There is a lovely simplicity to this. This feature all but ignored in this church, and this may have been a carved pedestal for something. The Parliament building looking quite ordinary by standards, appropriately impressive in a bureaucratic way. I was just drawn to the staircase entry of this building squeezed into this spot at some point in time. Across the street from the Parliament, and I don't want to video it because I don't need to, but there's a cop there. In some countries they get testy about that. This is the Swedish gate. I'll check my Google to make sure. If so, it's part of the old defensive wall. Just a half a block down from our accordion player, and the Swedish gate is of course a rebuilt portion of the old city defensive gate and wall. Remains of moat. Whether it was actually filled with water, I don't know. Perhaps they could have channeled it in from the huge river behind us. Sometimes we need to learn to let go. The second statue of this design, an apparent human underneath a cloak hidden, entitled The Ghost. Here in Latvia, I would see different interpretations. I, for example, would see the ghost of religion hiding under a cloak of anonymity during both the Nazis and the communist regimes. I'm guessing this is an older building just because of the elaborate use of those what look like crosses, but they're really braces. Usually they go straight from one side of the building to the other to hold the building intact. They're in good archaeological form. They've left exposed the original wall or what's left of this portion. Presumably that brick that you see is the backside of the outer surface we walked by a few minutes ago. You wonder if this building was always here in this form. Not as imposing a gate as one would normally expect. So focused on the Swedish gate, I did not notice this older building, which this artist is trying to recreate. Facsimile of what you'd expect for a trade house. Large doors up on top. And a quick shot of that church we were in a few minutes ago. It's hard to tell when you're about to leave Old Town, so we'll go back this way. This is a pretty building, might have been quite important in its day before all these other buildings came in. We can look at some of the details. The lady is explaining it all to this gentleman. It would be fascinating if I understood the language and could butt in. Imagine the stories that lie behind the creation of the detail on this building. Very grand looking, at least as an allusion to maybe Greece or Rome. Ministry of Finance, I'm guessing. Another beautifully embellished building. I guess this is an allusion to Adam and Eve. I don't know what the peacock is for. You can appreciate it packed with people. Kids to play in, or maybe it's symbolic of the barricades. What do I have a clue if this maybe here is parked here for at the back of this big cathedral. This older building, deteriorating rapidly, just about closed off from the rest of the world, contains this interesting little niche that looks like a reference to the deep past. As always, when we go up above, it gets sometimes more interesting.